I didn't want this video to exist. Not because it's controversial, but because if it's true, it changes everything. For years, I told myself the same thing Canadians tell themselves. Oh, it's not that bad. Every country has problems. Just work harder.
The clang of the cash register, an anxiety-inducing reminder of rising costs.
Yeah, it's just a hell of a mess right now.
The cost of living making it harder to get by and leaving little hope for the future.
And after actually stepping outside the Canadian bubble and getting my visa to live in the USA, I realized something that made me really uncomfortable. And today, I'm gonna walk you through it calmly and clearly with numbers so you can decide for yourself. This is not a rage video. It's not even a political video. I just wanna show you the one thing I didn't wanna believe, and now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it. So here's what we're going to cover in today's video. What Canada promises versus what it actually delivers. Why doing everything right no longer works. The quiet shift most people haven't even noticed. And who Canada still works for. Because it does work for some people. Now, if you've ever felt like you're running faster than ever before, but you're not really getting ahead, this video is gonna make you very uncomfortable. So with that being said, let's get into it. Now, Canadians were sold a very specific deal. If you go to school, get good grades, work really hard, be a good employee at your job, you're gonna get your pension, you're gonna be able to own a home, and life's gonna be great. What I'm saying is probably not news to you. You're probably saying, duh, Matt. Yeah, I still believe that, and that's what I've been told. Well, the reality is, for decades, that deal definitely worked. From the 1960s, 70s, 80s, even up to the 90s, this framework definitely worked. And it's why millennials are so pissed off with the boomer generation, who honestly had it all. They lived during the best time, literally, in human history to be an average citizen. That is to just go to your job, do your thing, be a good little worker bee, work hard, and life is literally gonna be pretty amazing. But here's the real question. What happens when that deal quietly changes and doesn't work anymore? Well, here's the uncomfortable reality of doing everything right. In most cities now across Canada, the average home is 8 times the average household income. Now, this is far above the old benchmark of houses being 3 to 4 times maximum the household income in the 80s and 90s, i.e. our parents' generation, the boomers. In Vancouver alone, incomes over the past 10 years have risen 34%, but the price of homes have risen 140%. The cost of assets and homes are not keeping pace with inflation, and they're certainly not keeping pace with wage inflation. And rent isn't any better. Over half of Canadians pay 40% of their after-tax income to housing. That is their rent, or in some cases, mortgage and utilities. 40% of your after-tax income just to have somewhere to sleep. Add on the cost of groceries, transportation, insurance, your cell phone, internet, Netflix, you're done. Like, it's never literally been harder for Canadians to get ahead than it is right now. It's getting insane. And for buying a house in the average city across Canada, for example, my city, which is just a normal city, 1 hour south of Toronto, not even in the major city, the average home is $800,000, and it looks like this. This house is literally dog shit. Like, it's not worth almost $1 million, but that's what Gen Z and millennials are having to deal with right now. They're making less money, taxes are higher than ever, housing costs are more than ever, also rising groceries, utilities, cell phone, everything's rising except for wages. Now, the problem isn't that people are lazy, it's just that the math stopped working. You didn't get worse. The system just got tighter. Now, here's the thing. Canada didn't collapse overnight like a notable recession or like 2008, where we know something created a domino effect. Canada's been failing slowly, quietly, without people really noticing, until they look behind them and they go, I'm worse off now than I was 5 years ago. I'm way worse off now than I was 10 years ago, when I should be accelerating in my career. I'm getting older, I'm making more money, but I'm actually keeping less. Now, Canada slowly optimized for something else. It's been way better for asset holders, mainly real estate holders. So this could be real estate investors who own many properties, or the average citizen who owns their own home and has owned it for more than 10 years. Now, here's the thing about Canada in a nutshell. Canada still protects you if you fall. We have so many safeguards here in Canada, and it's why our foreclosure rate is 0.15%. What that really means is nobody loses their house. It's just the way our banking system system is set up, it's the way the economy is set up, our banks don't want your house. If you're having financial trouble, you can always call your bank, TD, Scotiabank, BMO, and negotiate with them and be honest with them and say, look, I lost my job, I'm going through some stuff, but I can't pay next month's mortgage. And the way our banking structure is set up is literally our banks will say, no problem, don't worry, don't freak out. How about we just don't take a payment from you for the next 6 months? Would that work? How about we raise the amortization to 90 years? Remember during COVID when all the banks were doing this? People were paying off their mortgage over 90 years to lower their payment, meaning banks don't want your house in Canada. They'll do anything to help you out. It's just not the way our system is set up. Whereas in the US, the average foreclosure rate is 2 to 3% at any given time, not even during a recession. This is thousands and thousands of times more of a foreclosure rate than what we have in Canada. Why? Their system is way more capitalistic and really emotionless. If you're going to lose your house, if you lost your job, you're done. They're going to take your house, it is what it is, and you're going to have your ass on the street. I can tell you this because I'm a Canadian real estate investor who's now living in the US. My business is in the US, and I can tell you, dealing with foreclosures, this is exactly how it is. We help people get out of this situation. We buy their house before they lose it. It's savage in the US. Like I said, Canada will protect you when you fall. But on the flip side, Canada no longer helps you climb. We don't live really in a capitalistic free market anymore. It's overregulated, overtaxed. It's so safe that you can't get ahead. It's too hard to build a business. It's too hard to invest in the Canadian economy. And this leads me to my next point. If you're a smart, capable, and most importantly, ambitious person, if you're an entrepreneur type mentality, Canada drives you nuts. I mean, this is me to an absolute T. I'm an absolute go-getter. I always strive for the top 1%. I'm going to win. However, it is very hard to win in Canada. I tried. I had a business in Canada. I bought and sold over 150 properties. I had 13 employees in-house, all carpenters and floor layers and tile layers and HVAC. I had the whole company to buy and renovate houses. To me, I felt like I was the poster child of the Canadian entrepreneur trying to get ahead. But once I started learning about the US and buying US real estate and how much friggin' easier it is to do business in the US, to get a mortgage in the US, to grow your business, it's night and day difference. And I used to always think that Canada was a place to be. It was the safe economy. And it has been since 2008, but also since 2015, since you know who came into power. The entire economy and landscape is just going down the hill. It's too hard to create something of value. And think of it this way. Think of all the famous Hollywood people you can think of. They all, every single one of them, leave Canada and become a US citizen. Why? Lower taxes, lower regulation, easier to scale their brand, their business, and just easier to make money. And you're in the most powerful economy on the planet. You're making the US dollar the best currency on the planet. It's no wonder why anybody, literally anybody who gets any serious success in Canada always goes to the US and becomes a US citizen. I mean, if it happened once or twice or 3 times over all these people, whatever, it's just a coincidence. But it's every single person. That's not an accident. So who does Canada still work for? Because it's not all that bad. Although it mostly is, because Canada only works for a very select small amount of people. And that is, like I said earlier, people who own assets, people who own a business already, not starting one as of today, people who own real estate before, not as of buying today. If you already own assets, you own Canadian stocks, you own Canadian business, and you have for over 10 years, Canada still works for you, i.e. the boomer generation. This is why the millennials and boomers are at each other's throats in Canada more than ever, because millennials are saying, I did what you told me to do. Mom, I went to school, I got my degree, I worked hard, I can't afford a home, I can't get ahead, I can barely provide a roof over my head for my family. This is insane. I did the same playbook you did, yet I'm going nowhere. And boomers are saying, what? What's wrong with Canada? It's all fine with me. Of course I'm going to vote Mark Carney again. Of course I'm going to vote the Liberals. What do you mean? It's great around here. It's great for me. Of course it is. Because you've owned your house for 20 years. You bought it for 132 grand. Now it's worth $1 million. Of course you're doing okay. And this is the biggest problem right now in Canada, and why so many people, record numbers, higher since 1950, that Canadians are leaving specifically for the USA for a better life. Now here's the thing. The moment I realized that really Canada was dead, it was a major turning point for me. I always tried, even just a couple years ago, I was trying to build a business, trying to get it going forward. And I thought, you know what? This is temporary. Recessions come, recessions go. It'll improve. Canada will get better. I'll keep going. And eventually, the more and more I kept doing that, and the more I kept living in the US and building my business in the US, I finally realized it's just never going to be temporary. The whole structure in Canada is just broken when it comes to ambitious people who want to get ahead and want to live a better life, not just an average hard life. So what does this mean for Canada? What does it mean going forward? It means some are going to adapt, some are going to figure it out, some are going to leave, some are going to stay, but most people are going to continue hoping that it just resets, because most people can't take accountability and stare what's in front of them and take it on. They're just going to fight or flight. They're just going to look away, walk away, pretend it isn't there, but it's there. Something major is happening in Canada that hasn't been seen, I don't think, ever. Canada's always been this strong country, strong and proud. True North, strong and free is literally in our anthem. That whole sentence has been flipped. We are not strong, we're weak, we're not free anymore. The only thing true about that statement is that we're still in the north and it's still cold as hell and sucks. So I'm not totally here to tell you that Canada is doomed. This is just going to be a prolonged recession, if you will, and it's going to figure itself out eventually. Capitalism in the end always works. The reality is, do you want to stick around for it for the next 30, 40, 50, 60 years before maybe it gets better? So I'm here to say, if you've recently felt uneasy, if you felt the math isn't mathing anymore, you're not crazy. You're just paying attention to reality. So if you like this video, in future videos, I'm going to tell you exactly what people are doing in Canada about this, the trade-offs nobody talks about, and how to think clearly about the economics right now instead of reacting emotionally. So if that's interesting to you, hit the subscribe button and I will see you in the next video.